Right guys, just got back from Hastings yesterday. It was 4 nights, 3 nights away, 4 days away, and we're back at work on Tuesday. So it is, we're going to Coform. We're going to get there for 7 AM, so you know, it's like 6:30. Right, it's bang on 7 o'clock. It's another one for Jasper. Again, that's why we're in the house so early. I don't know how he gets away with it, getting people up at this time in the morning and going in their houses and start banging around and stuff. I haven't heard anything about this job apart from where it is, and it's inside. So let's get out and see what's going on, shall we? Okay, so I've just been run through what needs to go on in here. So this ceiling, which has got a broken leather pattern Artex over it. There's a hole there that needs patching in. There's a little bit of flake in there. The quote for this is to just skim over it, so I'm going to give it a bit of a scraper. It's got quite a heavy silk paint, I think, on there, so it's going to reduce the suction. But if you look there, it's quite thick and it's peeled. So I still really need to get up there and just check to see what that bond is like. Should be okay, but I'm getting the feeling this has been left empty for a little while, and there's been a bit of a damp issue going on for it to go somewhere like that. So yeah, I think the place has been left for a while without any heating. I'm not sure if we've got the plaster to do that, but anyway, so it's that ceiling. This ceiling is going to be over-tacked. There's a lot of mould and stuff in here, and we're not too sure exactly what they're going to say about these walls, but they're in a right state. Look at them. I dare say that's going to be new plasterboard over that. That's what happens when you sort of scrim the life out of that. This is what happens when you tile directly onto plasterboard, and you know, you might quote something up before the tiles have come off, and then you got somebody that's just ripped, and it's just completely, absolutely just ruined that wall. This has been tiled over. Here's tiles, there's new adhesive over here. I think really, you know, that's come to the end of its life. There's not much you can do about that. Might get away with this one. There's so much bounce in it. It's not my job. Just walked in there. This ceiling needs to be plastered. It's already been tacked. There's a little bit of damage, ruptured paper in the corner, which is no good to plaster over, so we're going to have to cut that out and sort that out. So lots of little niggly bits and pieces. But there's one really quite bad trap in here, and that is these doors, which appear to be veneered. Now you can feel that that's quite a raw wood. You do not want to get plaster on any wood like this, because the plaster burns a stain into the veneer, much similar like that dark one there, and you will ruin the door. So that's why I've already taken these doors off and got them out here where there's no work to be done as yet. At a later date, this needs excavating. We're going to curl these winders round, which is always quite a fun job. I don't mind doing them, but I don't know if we're going to get to do them today. So we've got a bit of dog work to get through. It's not a very exciting job, but it pays the rent, doesn't it? What else? Yeah, I guess we'll just record and show exactly what goes on. You know, some people say overboard Artex, sometimes you can get away with it. It's one of those. This isn't my job, it's not my responsibility. This is the quota that I've been given to plaster over this. So if it does fail, it is not my job to repair it. It's not my responsibility, so I don't mind chancing it on something like this. So yeah, until we get out there and give it a scrape, we don't know what it's going to be like. But there is a couple of suspect bits already though. So yeah. Right, let's crack on and do some work and stop nattering on, shall we? Okay, so I haven't driven my work car for 4 days. It's been sat outside my house, weathering the storms that we've been having. Now, when you got a work van such as this, which is quite small, yeah, it's not really big enough, but I can make it work. Look, it does pretty much do everything I need. But the one thing that does save me is this roof rack up here for the bigger items. You can see it's quite a substantial roof rack with these straps as well, which are very quick and convenient and quite long lasting. I've been up there a while. So yeah, as you can see, it sits on the bars up here because these rails are already on. So any old ones, and yeah, you can strap everything to it. Now in the winter it's not so bad. Sorry, in the summer it's not so bad, but in the winter, you know, when you're packing up and it's dark, that tends to be when your van gets messy in it because you've just had enough. It's dark, it's wet, it's cold. You just throw everything in there. So your van does take a bit of a battering in the winter. But what is quite good, I think, is my hop-ups go up there. These extra long ones, and they fit nicely in that roof rack. And because they go up there, quite a lot of the plaster gets weathered off. So they stay pretty clean. I do get compliments on the cleanliness of my hop-ups. Okay, so we are in this front bedroom with the Arctics that needs to be skimmed over. Now, if we have a look at the type of estate we're on here, these would have been all built at the same time. Now, I'm not liking the look of this Arctics with this silk paint on there. You know it's a silk paint because it is very, very shiny. And we've already got all these little, hold on, let me see if I can reposition my hand a little bit better so you can see. So we've already got these little cracks on there. Now that paint is flaking off very, very easily, right? And also, once you get into this Artex, it's very, very powdery. So the effect we're getting here is exactly the same as your distemper or your lime wash. This is a very, very unstable surface. I'm going to recommend that this gets tacked over. I don't think plaster is going to stick to this very well, and you're going to really, really struggle to stabilize it because the silk paint is pretty waterproof. So any stabilizing solution needs to get into the depth of this Artex and soak through it and stabilize it. But the silk paint is going to stop that from happening. So this is, I'm going to say, unplasterable. And I can't get hold of Jasper, but I'm totally going to recommend we don't try and scrim over this. It's just too unstable. Look at it. I mean, you could scrape that off, but it's going to make such a mess. I mean, look at that that's coming out now. And what happens is, or what used to happen as well, so I've noticed there's a few nail heads through here, look, and there's a strange line, so I'm going to assume there used to be a wardrobe through here, and there's one on the other side as well. I don't think that's actually in the board. It's a strange line, I'm not sure exactly what's happened there. But what they would have done when you had a large estate like this, and because the artexing was done, because it's really quick, you know, and they could do a whole house in a day, they would just add a massive, great big bucket of it, like half a water bottle or something like that, chopped down, get a broom it up, and then you would just do the pattern and that's it. And you can fly through the house in one day after all the plasterboard had been sealed up properly and all the joints have been taped. But what they used to do quite often is they had like half a tub left at the end of the day. They'd just leave it there and come in the next morning and maybe add to it, and Artex never really sets. It just seems that it dries out more than anything else, and it's the paint that actually stabilises the dusty, dried out Artex. And I think what's happened here is they've let it dry out as they normally would, but somebody's waxed straight over it with really, really thick silk paint without putting a mist coat or an emulsion over it in there to soak it in, so that silk paint has just created a skin over the top, which is fine because it's just a layer of paint. But you try to add any weight to that layer of paint, and then that paint adhesion is going to fail from that dusty Artex. Now, this is not good. Can't plaster over this, I would say. So look, this is a right little headache, this job. We're looking for the joists in here, in this bathroom, look, and we can tell that there's going to be a joist there because the nail heads have all popped, so there we are. So it looks like in this place there's going to be another one over here, which there is, because there's 600s. So I'm thinking there must be something in the side, but there isn't. So what they've done, they've come over, let the board flap. Look at that, there is nothing there. They've let the board flap, then they must have put these walls up and bounced it on there and then taped them in there. But it's all failing. Not only have they done that, look at this wall. If you start blindly putting screws up in there, look, there's electrical cable there on this side, right in there, right on there, where you might be tempted to put screws. And that is after I found this on this side. So that looks like it's some sort of communication cable, but look. Dirty great big water pipe up there, just asking to be screwed into. Somebody's put something up here, look, there's a plasterboard plug to take a screw, and it is just literally, I can't even get my finger underneath it, just missed that pipe. I think we might have to foam these edges in. We can't get it, I can't chance getting fixings up into this really. This ceiling should come down so we can see exactly what's going on. So yeah, it's quite a nasty little awkward job. It's not great, to be honest with you. So a load of this paper up here had already ruptured, and there's virtually hardly any fixings there, but there is a timber behind here, so we've been able to fill the cavity there with some foam and get some foam up behind there. That's the best thing we can do. This is the quickest and best remedy for the situation right at this moment. We'll let these scrims hang, and then when this is all picked up, all this foam, we're going to trim it back. And hopefully that's going to hold it a lot more sturdy. In the meantime, because I'm going to leave Shay doing this ceiling, my attention has turned out to be for this winder. Now, if we have a look, they're not the best stairs in the world. It's like 9mm thick plywood as the riser, a bit of MDF as the actual step. So we need to get some wooden struts in here, and if you can see, look, there's a bit of a deficit behind here, so we can get some timbers and screw in through this way. We can get some timbers on all these and coming out here, and then we're going to get the X-Met wire. I'll show you what the X-Met wire is, and we're going to bend this, okay? Just nibbled this corner off so it flows, because it was a sharp corner. Don't want to take too much of this off, but I want this round a little bit. And there's another one down here that needs doing. Okay, so this is the X-Met, expanding metal lath. It's galvanised. We're going to be cutting it with a little grinder, and obviously we're going to get the wooden structures up there. We've got bits of wood here, there's some wood here, and we're just going to cut this to suit and make a nice flowing curve all the way down those stairs. So when you're doing something like this, it is kind of like it is making it up as you go along, but you know, working with what you got. So I think we're probably going to be able to get this X-Mat to maybe slide across here or just onto here. Might be worth pulling this off and getting some timber on the back of this, but yeah, we've got a slot that the X-Mat can disappear into. Like I say, we're going to get some wood on these so the X-Mat can be held all the way up. And here, look, the ceiling is suspended, but there is a couple of timbers there. So I think what I'm going to do is get a couple of thin bits of timber, because I noticed mate's getting some wood out down there, and slide them in, get some screws up here, which will give us another fixed point for our X-Mat. Bit of old skirting board, I think it's going to be perfect for what we need there. I'm just going to cut it roughly down the middle. So look, we got this section here that's plasterboard, and I kind of need a fixing, so I did a sniff around. I found this bit of OCB. I just trimmed it down. It was already cut to this, so that is going to slide in there like so. I'm going to fix that to the back of the board, and that's going to give us a really nice fixing for our X-Mat to sit on. Okay, so let's have a little see what we've done here. See, this little bit of wood here is quite flush, so we're probably going to get something over there, but had a little bit of skirting board and a bit of that OCB left over. Like you can see, they're quite thin bits, so they're just being pinned to the back of the plasterboard there, which is going to take the excrement, the lath. And we've put these timbers in, and if you can see, look, there's just that tiny little bit of almost like 15mm deficit that we've been able to hang these 2x2s on. And we're trying to stay kind of like in line as best as we can with the actual string. We can't really cut into this because this is where the strength is, you know. So like I've put a bit 2x2 and this bit of batten was knocking around, so I brought that down to there, another one into here, and I managed to get this one, which was knocking around as well, to sit just behind into there. And then our excrement ideally is going to flow nicely all the way down around, and then it's going to come down onto here. So we've done very similar up the top as that OCB that I found earlier, and I've had to manipulate this one a little bit because it was very proud, so I'm putting a bit of a, I trimmed a bit of a bend in there. These amazing chippy skills. Look, I angled that so it sat in there nicely. And again, this one up there, and then you can see again, these just a bit of skirting up there, pinned to the back of the plasterboard to take the excrement. So I think we are in a position to start putting some excrement on. Okay, so our expanded metal lath, as I explained earlier, it's this stuff and it's galvanized. You can cut it with normal tin snips, but we are using a grinder because it's much faster. The only thing is, when you do cut this, even with tin snips or grinder, it leaves a really nice, sharp, serrated edge. So you need to be really kind of quite careful with it. So there we go, look, I just cut this piece, a bit of a square. That one's come out already. So we're just pinning it up as we kind of see fit, as we kind of like do it. So, you know, it's one of those again where you make it up as you're going along. As it suggests, it's expanding metal lath, so it will pull about and bend and contort, but we want to try and keep a nice natural kind of curve on it as best we can. Now we don't have to cut all this up. If there's like anything overlapping, we don't have to keep cutting it back so it's all trim. In fact, if anything, you're probably better off if something like this, to double it up. You'll be surprised how much stronger 2 sheets of that are than 1 sheet, because we need to get the gear, the plaster, the bonding to go through it and actually be the wall by itself, and it needs to be quite thick so it's got the strength to hold itself together. So like I say, these sheets doubled up, double thickness, really does help with that. Oh, let's have a look what else we got. So we're just putting it up with drywalls, but we've also got some of these plastic washers. So I've got a big tub of those there, and like I say, just look at it and, you know, let your artistic juices flow. Okay, so there we go. Look, I did actually, when I was putting it on there, this one was a little shy, so look, I've actually put this bit of wood on here to pull this out because I didn't like the way it was pulling it in and then back out. I want it to kind of look, you know, nice, if you like. There's a little bit of a bend in it that way, but we're gonna have to curl it out anyway. So yeah, we got our first sort of sheet up, so you're kind of getting the idea of what we're gonna do. Right, now let's cut another square and start coming up around this way and just carrying on. Okay, so we're kind of getting somewhere now. Now let's have a look what's happening here. So like I say, look, we've doubled up. It's probably quite tricky to see on the video, but we've overlapped in areas, and there's a bit of bounce. It doesn't matter too much. We need to get them close, but if we want to tighten this up a little bit, now look, I've got these little zip ties. I've got a little packet. I know I had something in the motor somewhere. I wouldn't mind some heavier duty ones, but what we're doing, see, I'm folding them up like so they curl, and we can just get that anywhere you can see where it's a little bit baggy, or you want to just strengthen 2 up. It's a bit fiddly to do with one hand and film at the same time like usual, but let's curl that round. I'm gonna have to use 2 hands, hold on. So there we go, look, I've got that to curl round and bite hold of both the sheets. And obviously we're just gonna put the zip tie through, pull it taut, and it will hold them together a little bit closer and just give it a little bit more rigidity. You can also do this, I have done it with, if there's any scrap cabling around, strip the copper out, do the same sort of thing, just get the copper around, pull it round, and then you get two ends and twist it, and then just with your tin snips, just trim off the excess. Okay, so there's our first little square we've got on down the bottom, and you can see actually it's bending quite nicely. So like I say, you don't want to overdo it and put too many fixings in too tight. Like you can see here, probably I've got some fixings in here, but they're not pinched all the way back, and look, by the time we get here it's got quite a bit of gap. I'll get my camera down, quite a bit of gap, so I'm going to let that run, and I'm going to get the next one across here down this edge, use a straight cut down here and pull it across this way, and hopefully it should, you know, kind of just, you know, you make it up as you go along. Right, so this is all quite secure, a little bit of bounce in it in a few places, but don't worry, this is all going to solid up. It's more about the fixings that it stays up, and I'm quite happy we've got an adequate amount of fixings in there, and it all feels pretty sturdy. Okay, so I just put a new tin of foam on the gun because that other one was running out and it was coming out a lot better. So this is what I've done. It hasn't taken too long. If you you don't have to do this, but this is called a prick up coat. Okay, now you can do this just with the undercoat, but you will struggle, especially if you're on some single bits, to get it any weight up there. Okay, so that's what you need to kind of like feed it through and get it to hang on with. And if you're not going to bond in, although it's fairly lightweight and sticky, you're still going to struggle to get any real depth on that. So that's why I quite like, if you do have some of that expanding foam handy, to do this to it, because this is kind of like a pre-prick up. Okay, so obviously the bonding is going to be able to grab hold of this, and this is very, very lightweight, so we're not really putting too much weight on there at all. But you can see, look, it's gone through. When this has gone off in 20 minutes or so, we're going to just trim off all the excess, but I haven't covered it completely because I do want the bonding to kind of, the same principle as the laths, the lath and plaster. We do want bonding to push through the little gaps and then come, and the weight of it come down and sit on top of these. Okay, so yeah, we do need a depth of undercoat in there. We can't just put it on the surface because it won't have any strength. We've got to get it through and rest on top and behind this lath. Okay, and that will be another prick up. But by doing this, you'll be able to get a much thicker coat on sooner rather than later. It might take 2-3 coats of bonding. Hopefully by doing this in this fashion, it's only going to take a couple of coats. So yeah, it's rather fun and quite addictive as well. It's like you don't know when to stop. So the foam is particularly good in places like that where it's hard to get it fixed, but we've allowed it to curl around. So yeah, no, it's really picked up the mesh there. Okay, so whilst all this foam is picking up and it's not too far off, I'm going to start sorting out all these awkward bits of boarding and stuff that need attention. So obviously a bit of board through there, another bit on here. And there's a bit on the edge up here where we curled it round a little bit. And it's taking advantage. So that's a big sheet of, it's the winder up there. So what I've done is just tacked a couple of tacks, a couple of screws in there. Just hook that on. But yeah, just taking advantage of being able to now cast the standing knife all the way down here and get it to fit exactly. So as you can see, it is rather an awkward shape. We'll get up there. So you can see it angles in this way, then we've got a curve on there, and then it angles up again. Quite a difficult one to cut, so we're through measurements, so it's a lot easier to do it that way. Okay, so here we go, look, this is all picked up for a trowel. We just trim all the excess back. So none of it's sticking out. Okay, so I've been given a wet bead to get this on. We didn't have one of those plastic white flexible beads, but we've got one of these. So you can see where I've got to this point on this curve, it just nipped ever so slightly at regular intervals. Got a couple of fixings in here, and hopefully I'm gonna need 2 hands to do this. I can't film it and try and do it. I'm gonna try and like ease it round this bend so we get a nice regulated curve. Let's see how we get on. So there we go, we did get it to curl around. I did need to persuade it a little bit with the hammer. It was a little bit tricky and I had to trim some more out and make these a little deeper. I did struggle, but I think it looks alright considering what we've had to use to get it there. I think when that's plastered in, that'll look great. It's fine. So bonding coat is what we are going to use. Not too thick, not too wet. There you go, there's the consistency we're going for. Maybe just a smidge on the stiff side. Look at that, it's a bit teary, yeah? That's how we're going to want it. Ready? Okay, so bonding is quite chunky. Now it's important that we're using a smaller trowel, but it's important when you put it on. So we're working towards what we've already put on, because what we need to do is just not hang this on the surface. We need it to push through, but we need to be careful not to put so much on it falls out again. So it is a bit of a fine balance. You might be tempted to use some sort of flexi trowel or something like that. Don't do that at this stage. You want to get it on with a trowel and learn the contours, and don't put nothing flexi over at this point because you need it to be plasterable. If you start putting a flexi over it again, you'll be putting contours into it that you won't be able to achieve with a trowel. Look. You'll probably do well to jazz this stuff up with something to send it off a bit quick, but we're not going to do that because all I'm doing is just getting this done, and we're going to leave it overnight because we're running out of time. I want to get this done today so we can give it another good coat of bonding again tomorrow before we set it. Okay, so there we go. That is still really wet, and that is good enough for now. And like I say, it's quite important you try to get it as good as you can with your trowel, because that's bringing it and creating a shape that is, I mean, I could have used maybe a bigger trowel. This is 13, so maybe when we set it I might put it on with a 11-inch trowel or something, because I know then it's gonna go with the contours that I've already created. We're making the shape with the trowel, which is going to make the next stage a lot easier. As soon as you start trying to bend it round or run a brush over it or something, you're going to pull it into and contort it into bends that just can't be achieved with a trowel, because it's just so flexible and it's going to be ripply and wobbly all over the place. So we really need to kind of create the shape and let it form itself. So there we go, look, it's actually starting to look like something. I won't go into one too much on the contours, we'll do that at the end. But like I say, there's no point in touching the rest of this now. Let it pick up, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll put another coat of bonding over the whole thing, and then really go into one about, you know, how to shape it. More likely again, just using the trowel. So yeah, that's enough for today. I'm going home and I'll probably put all this just into one video. So that took just about a bag of bonding. Now I've got another bag left. It's probably not going to take quite so much again. And I'm well pleased that I did put that foam all into that mesh, into the expanding metal lath, because that allowed us to get a much better coat on than what we would have done if we hadn't done that. Okay, so it's the next morning. I've given it a bit of a scrape back with the 13-inch trowel and with the scratcher, put some key into there, because we need to get another coat of bonding over both of these. So with the scratcher, I've got quite a few scratches in it, and then to put some deeper ones in, I just used the corner of the trowel. I'll probably mix some multi-finish into this coat of bonding just to put some smaller particles into that mixture and help with the grab. We could possibly PVA this. I might put a little coat of PVA over it as well, just to help with the bond. But I don't want to kill the suction too much because I want it to go off quite quick. So yeah, maybe just like a light PVA just prior to putting the second coat on and shaping it up a lot nicer than it is now. Tin snips got wet the other day. At this point I have taken the time to get some of this yellow Easy Scrim from Easy Mix, and just on where, or if you remember where the boards meet the X-Mat metal frame, just scrimming those in for now. I won't worry about all these sides and everything because I can get on with that once I've got this on and it's setting. But yeah, just these areas here, and you probably will have trouble getting scrim to stick to undercoat, so as you can see, staples are the answer. So here's the consistency that I've knocked up. It's quite stiff, but not as stiff as it was when we was pushing through into the X-Mat. Now I did put a little bit of mixture, so here's our bonding coat, here's our multi-finish, and if you don't know, look, you see the size of the granules in there, and here with the multi-finish, you see it's a much finer powder. Now the reason I put multi-finish in there is to give it some of these smaller particles and knock it up tiny little bit wetter, so that that has more chance of pushing into those cracks that we made, the little scores with the scratcher, and actually has more chance of getting in there and holding on. Because if we knock it up too stiff and try to go over there, it probably won't just push in quite as well, and you probably have more chance of just riding over those gouges in there and not actually pushing into it and holding on, which is what we want. Okay, I think I am going to give this a third coat. I'm going to let this pick up a little bit and then give it another tight one over the top. It's quite important, I want to try and get these sort of things nice and running smoothly. I don't want lumps and bumps, it's got to be quite consistent. So there's a bit of a one there. I have struggled. And I'd like to do things like make this corner up. I'm just going to have to leave that rough at the moment, let this pick up, and then I can cut it out a little bit. But I'm quite happy with this line, where it's swooping down and just curling out down there. So yeah, you have to learn it. So with the trowel, I'm coming off this way and then coming in such a manner. These external areas are probably a little bit more difficult. And obviously down here, it's a different kind of sweep coming over to here, trying to roll it round. So yeah, so I'm not too happy with this one here, just curling out like that. It's just run out of gear, so I'm gonna knock up a little bit. This edge is running a lot smoother. But I gotta admit it, as I say, it's not exactly straightforward, and you do have to make it up as you go along. And I won't lie to you, it is quite often a tongue out, one eye closed, concentrate, and yeah, feel the force. So we're going for a third coat, and we're knocked up quite a bit more loose because the coats are getting tighter and tighter. So I just want to tidy it up that little bit. It just makes setting so much easier. We're still remaining with the 13-inch carbon steel trowel. Nothing else has touched it as yet. So we've got the third coat on there, and I'm much happier that this is flowing a lot better and all the lines are more consistently flowing, you know. All this one down here, it's hard to see on the camera because the bonding has stained the actual wall, but the line is actually pretty good down there. This is all staining. That looks okay up there with that bend on it. But basically the principle is, what I've done, I don't mind going into one at this stage because this is just a repeat now of what you're doing, because you're learning the contours. So down this edge here, I've loaded up the trowel and I've come up and used the toe of the trowel all the way and made sure I got this line completely regulated and nice and smooth all the way. Then I've come and used this almost like when you're screeding, you know, we've made a little screed down here, a little datum. Then when you start filling out this area, then you can come in these strange ways and cross here as well. I brought the trowel and brought it out to the bead, okay, and then I've come this way and rolled it out through here. This is probably the trickiest bit. You see what angles have come. I've come in here and I've rolled it around and come out this way. Come up this way and then I've come down this way and rolled it down. So yeah, it is quite tricky. This one I'm much happier with as well because there was a nasty hump in it there and I've managed to make that much more of a consistent curve. It's much nicer on the eye. And again, the same principle is bringing the toe down, loading up this area, and then using that where the edge of the trowel hits there, you can see the trowel marks. And then it's nice and easy coming in these directions and filling it. As required. Okay, this corner's looking a lot better, it's been made up, so this is going to be quite difficult because it's obviously starting off sharp, but then it's rounding out. Just as it's picking up, I can just take a few of these ridges off, and it shouldn't be too much longer, we're ready to set it. Another quick look whilst we're just at this stage is it's picking up, you see. Browning off. I'm just using the toe of the trowel because I think you noticed quite a lot of like trowel marks, but I videoed that so you could see the directions in which have gone. But now just using the toe of the trowel just as it's picking up, just to carve them round and the toe of the trowel. So we use the 13. I do have a little 11-inch stainless, so when I actually put the plaster, the multi-finish on here, I might switch down to the 11. We certainly don't want to go for a bigger trowel. So again, the logic being, we put it on with a 13, we've created contours just with that trowel. We're kind of memorising the directions in which the trowel marks are, how we put it on. So the logic being, if we drop down to a 11-inch trowel, it should fit a lot nicer into those contours of the bigger trowel. Okay, all the bonding areas and stuff, giving them. Shay's just bought himself a new prop. So yeah, I've just given this a coat of PVA and I've also put some little key marks in there, just scored it up. PVA'd it, which is definitely going to help with the adhesion, and also because we're going from bonding to plasterboard. Because we're going from bonding to plasterboard, I want to kind of bring the suction all in line a little bit. So yeah, and give me a little bit more play time. Here goes the multi. Again, knocked up just a little bit thicker than you normally would have it. First coat is on, still using that 13-inch trowel. I've not flattened it in, but I'm going to go straight back over it with another tight coat of the same gauge of finish. Second coat. Not flattened in properly yet. Down here is a little bit tricky, especially this corner where it's going from tight and opening up into a sweeping bend. Sponge flake, wet brush. Flick some water on with your wet brush and then with your sponge, just liven the surface. Okay, it's all sponged in and looking much more agreeable, although it has got this texture to it. Probably one of the only times you will find one of these useful, a Plasiflex. Incredibly flexy, just a piece of plastic which is thin and just flops around everywhere, which, as you might imagine, is ideal for something that's all bendy and nasty like this. So with the sponge float there, it's taken out any real immediate sort of like sharp ripples and livened up the surface. Sorry, I can't film and do this at the same time. So yeah, we've livened up the surface, and now we're just manipulating that surface so it smooths out again. I'll get some better footage in a minute. I've got to get across it, it's picking up. Okay, so let's have a go with the Plastering. A little tip here, because there were some areas, even where the Plastering was struggling on these externals, and this one down here particularly was quite tricky because I can't. It's curling this way, and even the Plastering. So what I'm doing here is moving the discrepancy. So I need to come down in a very specific way, but I can't like start or stop here. So what I'm having to do is start right up here, and then I'm feeling the trowel come down. And then we're rolling around with it. And every time I'm doing that, so I'm getting a nice sweep on here, it's rounding off, but I'm putting a little mark in up the top. Can we see it? There it is. Every time. Obviously there's just one there, but I'll keep doing that, and we'll get a load of little discrepancies up there, but we've put them up there because that's where it's a lot easier, rather than having a discrepancy here and trying to get rid of this. Nice big long sweep and everything. Put a discrepancy up where it is flat. And it is somewhere where you can actually deal with it. Let's have a look down here, shall we? So as we come up the stairs, it's all looking quite nice and consistent. Come round. This corner. This curl is nice and consistent down here. Still at the moment. This corner here is quite nice and consistent. Also this one, you know, it's not waving up and down or wobbling around, it's a nice sweeping curve. That's what really makes the difference. It's always the corners, the internals, isn't it? Get on the top here. Some of the undercoat bleeding through, which is the brown there. So this is curling around quite nice. This is straight edge. I'll clean that off. It's got that little triangle to sort out up there. It's a little bit rough at the moment, but I'm going to cut it out with a steel trowel, get a nice sharp edge on that, and then when this is all done, this side, I'm going to come down and by freehand just make that a nice sharp curve. So it's basically there. Same on the other side. Where is it? Up there. I'm going to trim that out. And the only other place here, so look, I'm going to have to blend this little area in here because this is part of the same wall. But I didn't want this internal live if I could help it, so I've only got a tiny little bit of a blend in here where it gets sharp. So this edge is going to taper out into nothing and be completely flush with this bead by the time it gets to about here, and then it's going to look like one seamless wall all the way up. Bit of bendy flexi tub over here. So these external bends are a little bit tricky. Now I can't do it with one hand, but you can hold both sides of this with both hands and then create the curve that you want and bring it down and take out any potential ribs or ridges this way. Same as on this one, so it's flexi. You can just bend it to any angle you want, and with both hands just drag it down. So you can start off wide up here and then close it down. And it takes off these little ridges. You know, you're going to get a line. It's going to be really difficult. I find that this really helps out. Okay, so obviously as this plaster now starts to pick up, it gets a lot easier to, you know, flatten things in. You can be a lot rougher with it if you like, and this will tend to roll with the contours rather than make lines. Okay, so then we did smooth things out. And now this Plastering is really coming into play because it's not upsetting the actual structure of the plaster. And that's just the thing, isn't it, really? You need to be able to get this into a condition when the plaster is wet. This is the easy bit, you know. And I strongly believe that because we stuck with the rigid trowels for so long, all the way through the floated coat, and then putting on the multi with the rigid trowels and everything, we've had to create a shape that this can accommodate. If we'd started using this from the beginning, the outset, it wouldn't. There's some things you can do with this and some things you can't. So this is why I sponged it, to take those really, you know, take that millimeter surface ripples off and roll them around, you know, like a normal float would do to render or something like that. And it just livens up that top millimeter. But you've got the general shape going on, so then this is so delicate, it just manipulates that top millimeter, and that's all we're playing with now because we've got the basic shape. I think it's going to be quite a good winder. I'm very pleased with it. Let's just see it through to the end, and I'll show you what it's looked like when we get all the work done. Okay, now this Plastering, which is super flexible, is very limiting in the sense that you can't really open it up and plane the surface off that you would normally do with a normal flat wall, because it's just not strong enough at all. But you know, this is picked up enough now we can get away with, and I did keep one of these, so we're going back to the metal trowel, but it's a really small stainless steel flexi trowel. So this now, and this is picked up enough, it's able to take this opening up, and it is revealing any minor little ripples that we need. And on something like this, you will have to fill with fat and stuff. But now we're able to open the trowel up across there, and because it's picked up so much, we're not leaving any trowel marks. So this is what I'm talking about. Look, see all these little air bubbles and stuff have been created from the floating coat. It's just little holes where it's just not plaster, it's air, and as the gear is setting, it's heating up the air and pushing it out. Now that Plastering won't touch them, that will leave them in. I mean, and if I come this way, you hardly see them at all, but when you give it the old ghost hunt and run a light across it, that's what we need to start addressing now with that metal trowel, the metal flexible trowel. So here we go. Walk up there. Now we've got a lot of discoloration where it's starting to set in these darker areas. The lighter areas are where it's not quite so advanced. Managed to make up this corner quite nice. This had a load of pitting and stuff. We're gonna have to run some fat. We've got to get some easy fill because we've got to do some around another part. That's the old dry lining joints. So yeah, I'm quite happy with all these lines. And there's the original plaster when you ghost hunt it there. The lines and stuff in it. And these ripples. Oh, you shouldn't have any of that. And this. It has bled round quite nicely. So yeah, I am quite pleased with what we've achieved today. difficult to show stuff up on camera. Hi guys, thanks so much for watching this video, which is all about plastering. It's quite a long one, so well done if you managed to get to the end. This one is probably a little bit more for your more advanced plasterers, intermediate if you like. If you're a new time plasterer, then do have a look at the other videos which are on the playlist. There's loads on there which are designed for beginner plasterers, and the clue in the title will be plastering for beginners, so do have a look at that. Alternatively, if you want to ask us any questions or whatsoever, or tell me how to do something, then come over to the Facebook group, which is entitled Plaster Master Smurf 74, just the same as the channel and the playlist. And then, yeah, come over there and have a little chat with us there. And, you know, do the other stuff. Do the subscribe, do the like and all that stuff, because the YouTube algorithm loves it. So, guys, again, thanks very much for watching. And I will get another video up really soon. And I don't know what it's going to be yet. Your guess is as good as mine. It could be anything. We are going back to that job tomorrow just to finish off some more mundane stuff. Nothing quite as interesting and different as that stair winder which you just watched. Yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.